Welcome everyone. Going to be talking about Delcatty. Delcatty was absolutely horrendous, terrible Pokemon, infamously so. And it sucks because it's a cute little design. I'm not too huge on cute Pokemon, but it's a nice, pleasant design. I like them. And I gave them some incredible buffs. Obviously, every Pokemon in this hack is buffed in some regard, or changed, or given some cool new tools to work with. Actually, probably a lot. But I've given massive reworks to Pokemon that were very bad, of course, because they need it. So, typing wise, normal fairy, that is something that it should have been. That's not a controversial change whatsoever. Good typing. Pure normal is also good, but normal fairy is very good. So it's just fairy, but it's not resistant to fighting, but it's immune to ghosts, which is arguably better. I'd take the ghost immunity over the fighting resist any day. So yeah, great typing. And then of course you do get dual stab there as well. So it's a good typing, very good typing. Delcatty does have a little bit of overlap with Wigglytuff, and Furret. Furret is not fairy type, so Wigglytuff it overlaps with because it's a number one, it's a normal fairy, and number two, Wigglytuff has Fluffy, while what Delcatty has Fur Coat. And as for Furret, it's only overlapping because it has very similar stats and the exact same abilities. Literally the exact same. It has Simple and Fur Coat as well. However, Furret has Sora's Dance E-Speed with Simple, and a bunch of other stuff that it has that's unique to it, as well as arguably better coverage moves such as like Flamethrower and Fire Blast and stuff, and Power Up and all these moves that Delcatty does not get. Well, Delcatty of course has that typing advantage. I wouldn't say advantage, but typing difference. So yeah, that stuff is. I mean, I guess you could argue advantage defensively, but well, not argue it is better defensively for sure. Let me go to Delcatty. So yeah, all right. That alone, E-Speed alone makes it so that Furret is a lot different than Delcatty. Not to mention that Furret has, excuse me, I'm blanking on my train of thought here. Furret has more HP and is slightly faster, 115 versus 112, which is a pretty big deal. And it's also stronger physically. So yeah. And more HP is a pretty big deal as well. So yeah, that being said though, Delcatty is still very unique and very, very powerful. So yes, 2 new abilities and Simple and Fur Coat. No more normalized. There actually will be a viable normalized Pokemon, but it's not going to be fucking Delcatty because Delcatty needs actual good abilities. The normalized Pokemon will be good because it will have good stats and because it gives normalized actually was buffed in Gen 7 to give a boost to the normal moves, but it's not going to be Delcatty, all right? But I will keep normalized. I think it's a cool, cute little ability, especially with infinite usability capsules, so you're not forced to have it all the time because the normalized Pokemon will have another option that's good as well. It's a situational type deal. So as for Delcatty, yes, you do have infinite usability capsules, so you should be switching between Simple and Fur Coat depending on the situation. Fur Coat gives you that inherent amazing defense stat. So Skitty has 45 defense, while Delcatty has 70, and with Fur Coat active with 0 defense investment, Delcatty has, let's see, Delcatty has 352 reaches, 352 defense, which is like, that's the equivalent of like base 111 defense with max EVs. Like, a bold-natured 111 base defense Pokemon with max EVs, that's what Delcatty has without any investment, just by existing. No nature, no nothing. All right, that's incredibly bulky. And if you put bulk in there, let's say you have a neutral defense nature with max investment, now you're at 478 defense, which is insane. And then let's say you have a plus defense nature, now you're at, oh, sorry, that should be Jolly for this case. Now you're at 524. All right, it's really, really tanky. It also has a good special defense stat of 95, so that's great. And you have tons of amazing boosting options with Simple, which I'll get into in a second. Also, you can see the link to all of these changes in the description down below. There's a Google Sheet with all of these detailed changes to all of these Pokemon. So you should definitely check that out if this kind of thing interests you. I would definitely recommend that. There is like a detailed move guide where you can see all these move buffs and changes because what I will say is that every move in this hack is changed in some regard. There's like 5 moves that aren't, so I would just assume that every move is changed or buffed. Not to mention there's 130 plus completely new moves. So yeah. As for setup, they have some really good shit, all right? So I'm going to go over the early options, and I'm going to go and set reverse chronological order. Okay, so I'll go with the late game stuff first. So you get enchantment with Simple. Dunsparce also has access to enchantment with Simple. However, Delcatty is a lot faster, but Dunsparce has a better dual stab combo and is bulkier, so it's kind of just, I mean, bulkier not counting Fur Coat because you can't run Simple and Fur Coat at the same time. Again, you are swapping between your abilities. Say one battle you need that Fur Coat but that utility, next fight you need that Simple with that setup literally as simple as that. So Delcatty has access to enchantment, which will give it's essentially geomancy, but instead of +2 speed, it's +1. So if it's simple, that gives it +4 special attack, +4 special defense, and +2 speed in one turn. You can also use enchantment with Fur Coat, which is really good as well, because you're doubling your defense stat naturally, and then you have +1 speed, +2 special attack, and special defense. So the good thing about Delcatty's abilities is that both of them are super good for like they're both really good, and they're also both, well, obviously all Pokemon have 2 good abilities now. But what I'm trying to say is that there's no overlap between your moves with your abilities, so you can run the same moveset with simpler Fur Coat. You don't have to delete any moves necessarily. Obviously, you could to make more use of stuff, and I would recommend doing that. But like, for example, you can run the setup moves on Fur Coat sets, and those are great. And you can run the utility stuff on simple sets, and that's great. So that's awesome, right? Fur Coat is incredible. It's super tanky. Delcatty essentially has like base 200 plus defense with Fur Coat now, which is incredible. I believe over 200 base defense equivalent, probably about 210-ish, 220-ish, which is insane. Super tanky, normal fairy type. Obviously, Wigglytuff is tankier. However, Wigglytuff has Fluffy, which not only gives it a weakness to fire, but only works on contact moves, which is a pretty big deal. This just doubles its defense stat straight up. So yeah, 112 base speed is also great. It's slightly slower than stuff like Persian. I thought that it was a cat, so good speed stat does fit. As for the abilities and the reason I chose them, Fur Coat I think fits perfectly. It has a little neck pillow, and if you read the dex entries, it talks about how it grooms itself, and it's popular for its style and fur. So Fur Coat fits really nicely there. And then Simple is more of just okay, what's an ability that's as useful as Fur Coat? That also kind of fits, and I figured Simple kind of fits. It's a cute little simple cat, and it's not stupid necessarily, but it's just kind of simplistic and ha ha ha, I'm here vibes. So I think Simple fits well enough, given the fact it's mostly for balancing reasons, because there's no other ability that's as useful as that would make sense on Delcatty, really. That also wouldn't overlap with another normal fairy type, so I have to keep that in mind as well. There is a decent handful of normal fairy types in this hack, so I have to keep that in mind. Delcatty has incredible utility. So yeah, enchantment. Lunar Dance essentially works like Quiver Dance used to. So Lunar Dance gives you +1 to your special stats and +1 speed. So with Simple, that gives you +2, or with Fur Coat, you have double defense. So again, more, it's just an enchantment that is less boosts, but you don't need to run Power Herb, and that's 10 levels earlier. So Simple Lunar Dance, you can sweep boss fights easily. Also, Draining Kiss goes incredibly well with those moves, because you get that healing. So that's great. You also have Nasty Plot, Swords Dance, and Calm Mind via TM, which is incredible for simple sets. Nasty Plot gives you +4 special attack, Swords Dance gives you +4 attack, and Calm Mind gives you +2 to your special stats for earlier in the game before you get Lunar Dance, of course. And that's great, alright? It's incredible stuff. So what that means is, so for example, Delcatty has 95 special attack. It's a fairy type now, and Pokemon and attack overall just have very, very high power levels, so I think 95 fits pretty well for both. And then of course you do have that Nasty Plot or Swords Dance. Yes, your attack stat is lower, but I figured 73 attack does fit, because they're a cat, so they can pounce and bite and shit. Not like they're super strong, just decently okay. Especially with access to Simple Swords Dance, it's very powerful now with physical sets. So it does have stuff like. It does have some unique coverage on the physical side that it doesn't get specialty, such as Aqua Tail. Its only water move there is Water Pulse, so Aqua Tail's a lot stronger. You also get some other strong moves like Takedown and other stuff. So yeah, definitely worth considering physical sets for sure. What else is there? Yeah, but there's so much stuff to cover, so I'm a little bit forgive me if I'm a little bit all over the place, but there's a lot to talk about. I might just go in chronological order of all the stuff it gets, honestly. I'm just going to do that. Utility. Also, like, just simple, like, simple, I didn't mean the ability. Simple as in, like, you can't go wrong with just a Fur Coat utility set. Fur Coat Parting Shot, Fur Coat Defense Stat Dropping Move, Fur Coat Reflect Light Screen, that kind of shit is always going to be great as well. But I'm just going to go in chronological order. So you start off with Tail Wag and Growl. Those are good dropping moves. Tail Wag has priority and drops defense. Growl drops attack and speed by 1, so those are good options for early game. Then you have priority moves with Fairy Blow, Pixie Dust, Quick Attack, and Swift, and Fake Out. Those are all priority, obviously. And then you have also, again, check out all of these new moves, the buffs and changes in the description down below. I have a very, very, very detailed move guide that you should definitely take advantage of to see what all these new moves do and now, because they are all changed and laid out here. So definitely give that a look. So yeah, you get priority moves, and then you get Play Nice and Baby Doll Eyes, which is just counterparts to one another. Priority drops attack, official attack. Then you have some stab moves, like Good Voice double slap. Tearful Look is great. Tearful Look drops both offensive stats by 1. That's great for like early game like totems and stuff, or Hala. Skitty in general is amazing for Hala with Fur Coat. Or you could even run a simple defense curl set versus Hala, simple defense curl workup with Draining Kiss and actually sweep Hala. Obviously, it's gonna be a lot harder than that. Skitty is pretty quick and it does have some decent, especially with Fur Coat. It's really tanky with Fur Coat and it's pretty strong for early game. So it's a good mon early game. It has good stats, but like good luck getting set up on Hala without doing a lot of planning, because he's gonna have a lot of stuff to make it so you can't set up versus him, at least not right away. Obviously you can always send it in like in the middle of the battle and kill his last 3 or 4 Pokemon if you manage to kill the lead, but the lead for sure will not be forgiving for setup. You're not gonna be able to click defense curl on that thing. It's probably gonna kill you. But that being said, still a viable option. Also, just for other stuff in general, for like other boss fights and trainer fights, you can definitely sweep those with defense go work up stuff. You also get reliable healing. That's really important. So you get Slack Off and Wish for healing, which is really important. Another really good utility thing that you get. So you get Disarming Voice and Harmonize, which are just the same move but different type. And those will always drop attack by 1, which is very useful for utility. Hoodwink is just Fairy Iron Head, so that's good for physical Fairy Stab for earlier in the game. Slack Off, Wish, Healing Whistles are great. Tickle is incredible for totems. One really cool thing you should be doing for totems, actually, versus on Akawa Island, is you can actually click Simple Beam, for example, versus Totem of Rock when it has Liquid Veil, extremely powerful ability. It might even have some other ability, but it'll have a really good ability nonetheless. Its ability will be essential for part of the challenge of that fight. So if you click Simple Beam, on it, boom, now it has simple, so not only is the ability gone, but now stat dropping moves will have double the effect. So for example, Simple Beam plus Fake Tears, now it's -4 speed F. Tickle, Simple Beam, now it's -2 to both its attack and defense, that kind of stuff. Charm Befriend with simple, now it's -4 attack, -4 special attack. Very good combination for totems, especially Marowak and Atlantis included. So that's definitely something to consider with healing moves such as Slack Off for utility. You also have incredible coverage, as most normal types do. Elemental coverage. I mean, every Pokemon attack has great coverage, but Delcatty obviously has extremely good coverage with all kinds of elemental stuff and utility stuff here, as you can see, and a couple other utility things that I'm not going to go over every single option, but you can see it here. So yeah, Holdback is great with simple. Holdback essentially will give you +1 attack and accuracy normally, but with simple you get +2 attack when you click that move, so it's essentially like Fairy type Power Punch. However, it doesn't knock out the opponent, which might sound bad, but that's actually incredible, because what you can do is you can charm or befriend or tickle the opponent until they're -6, and you can click Slack Off, and then you can hold back 3 times with simple and have +6 attack and sweep the entire boss fight. Or you can do Fur Coat plus Holdback and click it 5 times to get +5 attack. Honestly, anything over like +4 is probably overkill anyway, especially for that early in the game. So, Holdback is a great sweeping option. Yawn and Serenade. Serenade is essentially just Yawn, but it deals damage. So I might actually swap these around a little bit, because, yeah. Just because it feels weird to have Yawn right after, like, Serenade is just a better version of Yawn, because Serenade is 70 base power, special normal move. It's just like Yawn, but it deals damage as well for specific Pokemon, so that's pretty sick. You also have a sleeping move. Sleep is reworked in this hack to always last for 2 turns. However, if you're outspeed the opponent, that means you only get 1 turn completely free. However, that's all you need. For example, Dreamy Kiss, 85% accurate sleep move. Always will last 2 turns, so no first turn wake up bullshit. Then you get that Power Herb enchantment, and now you're sweeping. Or, Wide Lens, Dreamy Kiss will never miss, because Wide Lens is buffed to 15%. Or actually, it'll be like, I think that's what, 97%? Yeah, so essentially we'll almost never miss. And then you could click that Wide Lens Dreamy Kiss, then you click Lunadance once or even twice. You could also do it with Fur Coat if you wanted instead, and you Draining Kiss, and you kind of just sweep from there. Delcatty is incredible, man. It's so fucking strong with these abilities. Really, really fun to use. Really, really awesome Pokemon. It's got really good coverage, like I said, good powerful stab options. You can see what all those do in the description down below. Amnesia and Cosmic Power are also very good for simple. Amnesia gives +2, +4 speed F. Cosmic Power gives +1 to both, obviously. He also has access to buffed Stored Power. Buff Stored Power level 65. Stored Power will give you +1 special attack now. However, it only has 3 PP, because I don't want people sweeping 6-0 battles with Stored Power. However, killing half the opponent's team is plenty, and then you have +4 special attacks that you used. I mean, with simple, you're going to be +6. So dude, it's nuts with simple Stored Power. It's fucking crazy. Dunsparce also has that, but Dunsparce is a lot slower than Delcatty is. It's also a lot tankier without Fur Coat. So it's pretty even and fair, but yeah, it's incredible. Also go check out that Dunsparce video if you haven't. If you like this kind of change, you'll like all those videos as well. Or just check out the changes for yourself in the Google Sheet down below. I would you know, you don't have to watch these long ass videos if you'd rather just look at the sheets. I would honestly recommend that for a lot of people if you're able to understand the buffs, you know, without needing the explanation. But there's always going to be nuance to them, and there's always going to be stuff that I might need to explain just because there's so many changes and buffs and modifications to moves and interactions. So definitely something worth explaining nonetheless. Really, that's honestly really about it. It's incredible setup with simple, again, nasty plot. You can really just sweep so many boss fights. Sweeping is a lot harder in this hack, but, and you know, there's always going to be stuff to counteract it, like Priority Whirlwind and Roar, 1 PP moves that the trainers will have. You also have access to those, but trainers will use those on you to stop your stat boot sweeping. Clear Smog, Haze, Circle Throw, that kind of stuff is always really good. Red Card, etc. All this stuff is really awesome and useful for trainers. So yeah, you're definitely gonna want to keep that in mind. You're not gonna be able to boss fight sweep every single boss fight, you know, but it's definitely worth managing. Yeah, that's really about it, man. I don't know what else to say. It's just a great Pokemon. Tons of amazing utility, tons of amazing offensive stuff, incredible setup, incredibly tanky with Fur Coat, awesome buffs all around for Delcatty. I know a lot of people love Delcatty. I'm indifferent. They're cute, they're cool. I mean, they're kind of boring, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to give them really good buffs. I would love to get one, just because it would be very fun to use and very rewarding. I don't like Delcatty that much, but I would still love to use one. I mean, it's a shitmon. That's amazing now, isn't that? That's fun. It's fun shit. So yeah, hopefully you guys are satisfied with this. I know I definitely am. There's also some other funny stuff you can do, like Snore always flinches now, and it's Stab on Delcatty, 60 base power Stab that always flinches. So what you can do is you can run like Fur Coat, Amnesia, or simple Cosmic Power, Snore, Rest, and just flinch them to death. And then obviously if there's a ghost type, you can always teach Shadow Ball or something. So that's really fucking great. You know, and you can just snore everything else to death, absolute death. And you can also go Draining Kiss for healing if you need it, but obviously I would rather just snore, rest, sleep, talk. Sorry, snore, rest. It's great. You can literally sweep entire boss fights with that if you just flinch everything to death if you're faster. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's faster than you. There is a very detailed speed tier guide down below. Again, you can also click the simple description to see all of those moves, what they do if you forget. But yeah, you can see where Delcatty currently stacks up. It's in a very good speed tier, don't get me wrong, but you know, a lot of stuff does outspeed it. Not to mention, it's not as easy as you might think to sweep because, at least with the simple sets, because, for example, First Impression is a very common move. Delcatty no longer resists it because Bug, First Impression is a TM that a lot of Pokemon, basically every physical attacker almost gets, for the most part. And that's great because it bypasses like setup, so it crits, so it's 90 base power, but it's 60 base power, but it always crits, so it's really strong. And that's really cool. So that's a really good option versus Delcatty. Of course, you can teach that First Impression. Or, for example, like the League, you might be thinking, oh, I'm just going to click the enchantment on the League and win. Well, it's all fun and games until the neutral First Impression coming from a really fucking strong Pokemon just completely one-shots you without Fur Coat. Because without Fur Coat, you're not that tanky unless you're running max HP, max defense with the enchantment and simple, which is actually a very good set. You could totally and actually should do that. That's the pro tip. Then you'll probably tank the First Impression, and you can drain and kiss all your HP back. You know, so you gotta prepare for things though. You can't just brainlessly go into it. You'll definitely maybe some fights you could cheese just by being brainless, but overall you're gonna need to be prepared. You're gonna need to be preparing for that kind of stuff. Still a great Pokemon nonetheless, though. Super incredible buffs here all around for in-game use. Another thing I want to clarify before I leave off the video is that these changes are built for in-game, you know, with a difficult ROM hack, not for competitive use. This would be absolutely insane. All of these changes would be absolutely ridiculously competitive. Nothing would have any counters, and it would be so unplayable. It would be fun. Like, I'll definitely eventually make that server just for fun, but it's not a competitive metagame. It's bullshit. You know, things need checks and counters, and nothing has checks and counters with all these coverages and crazy power levels. So, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could probably find a way to make it work, but it would be mostly for memes. I just wanted to clarify that because people sometimes assume that this is like some elaborate project of like reworking Pokemon. It is, but it's for in-game use. It's an actual playable ROM hack that you can play, and the goal is to use cool Pokemon and to have a challenging experience, and to use, you know, just to have all these cool buffs and changes. It's not to like make a competitive metagame. I think I'll leave it off there. Again, link to the changes in the description down below. You can also join my Discord server down below. It's been growing a lot recently, so you can go check that out. You can play my older ROM hack in there if you're waiting for Sweltering. Obviously, it's not as up to date as Sweltering is because it's a little bit older. It's like a year old, maybe even a year and a half old at this point. So still a good hack though. Definitely worth playing. I put a lot of work into that as well. Obviously, not as much work because it's older. You know, I was less experienced, but it's still a great hack. Better than most, in my opinion. Of course, that's a biased opinion, but Yeah, I'm gonna leave it off there. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. All I ask in return is that you do drop a like and leave a comment down below. That would be very helpful for the algorithm. Yeah, that's about it. If you listen this far and you are not subscribed, definitely click that subscribe button. That would be very helpful for me as well. So you can see more content from me, and you can check out all these changes for yourself in the description or via my other videos. So thank you and goodbye.